Campbell versus Jackson Davies.
Yeah, it is going to be the dreaded Lugia mirror match that we have a lot of the times on stream so far, but Evan is having a little bit of spice.
He's got the flying Pikachu technology. This is an attacker that started off as a fun nod to a fan favorite, flying Pikachu back in the Celebration set, and it's just become a meta staple at this point, and now it's even joining forces with the top dog in the meta to try to win this mirror.
Yeah, and looking at the prizes there, Jackson is going to be playing that kind of basic Lugia list that we've been seeing from a lot of these players in Top Cut, adding with that Dunsparce, but Dunsparce in the prizes there, that might prove a little bit of trouble in this match.
Super unfortunate. The flying Pikachu with that lightning, lightning attack is going to still hit for weakness, get a lot of those early prizes. We knew the Dunsparce was going to make its way back into these Lugia decks after we saw that lightning weakness being exploited during OCIC. But as we kick off turn one, looks like Jackson's going first with the Oranguru start.
Yeah, I've been starting that flying Pikachu V. Always love to see it, especially in this matchup.
Yeah, well, you get that in the active on your turn one, then you just get that nice evolution on the next turn. It's already a threat that Jackson has to be very wary of. This means that Lugia V is going to be sitting with a big target on its back when it's down on the bench. Jackson now just taking an opportunity to, of course, evaluate the deck, see where those prize cards are landing, knows now that Dunsparce is also missing, and now has to immediately start to pivot to a new game plan, maybe trying to go even more aggressive to just outpace this lightning attacker.
Yeah, you really have to kind of work your way around that flying Pikachu VMAX with its max balloon attack. Later on in the game, you're not really able to use some of those tech attackers Lugia usually likes to in that Yveltal and the Radiant Charizard. And having Evan start that, it's going to be definitely scary seeing that, especially early on in the tournament. You don't really know what your opponent's playing. You could have no idea that Evan's playing Lugia along with this.
This change to the Lugia list already has massive implications for the mirror, which I'm so excited to see play out because, the single prize aspect of the Lugia V-Star deck allows you to slow things down if your hand is a little bricky, or just buy some time when you're looking for a two prize knockout to close out the game. But now with Flying Pikachu, that max balloon, as you already mentioned, really going to change things up. But after that deep search in the deck, Evolution Incense does find that Archeops. So there's one in the hand. Got to find a way to get this into the discard pile. We'll see if we can get that classic Lugia V-Star setup completed. There's Oranguru.
Ooh, look at the hand. I'm not sure how good it actually was, especially if you're relying on Oranguru this early.
Yeah, just a lot of energy in the hand, and Luminion not looking too good here.
This is not how you want to start this this matchup, especially seeing that flying Pikachu V on your opponent's side of the board. Double turbo energy in hand, and that's really the only card Jackson can play. Just passes. Just
has to pass, indeed. There's already this arena in hand. You've got your supporter. You don't need to use the Luminion. You're just putting down two prize cards for no reason. And without the setup, the backup of Primal Turbo, Luminion's just going to be a sitting duck. Meanwhile, Lugia V now entering the bench for Evan, and the powerful colorless energy attachment and an evolution incense here. Do we find the Archeops? You're just looking for that Pikachu VMAX.
Well, you're going to go find that Archeops. You still are a Lugia deck. You want to get that summoning star, be able to get those Archeops onto the bench, and then you can just charge up everything. And with the way Evan's hand is set up, does have the option between Serena and a Marnie. He kind of was opting for that Marnie before playing this evolution incense, but with the way Jackson's hand is, I don't know if you really want to Marnie him right now.
Especially, yeah, when you see your opponent have such a weak turn, you just let them be with their dead hand, and Evan's just going to try to complete the setup. And this is important as well, showing a lot of restraint as a player, not going for an aggressive line, just saying, even though I have an advantage, I can just complete my setup, and regardless of the outcome, I have a much stronger, advantage heading into the mid-late game. And here we go, read the wind, just going to discard that Archeops, and, one half the setup's completed there.
Yeah, Evan had the option to play the Serena, discard some cards, draw into a few cards, but you also kind of want that to hunt down the other Lugia V that Jackson's going to be playing this turn, because there's not going to be a V-Star.
just maybe a little bit of an underplay there, just respecting, saying, I have time now to take things a little easy. Professor's Research getting rid of the whole kit and caboodle. 7 new cards, 1 more shot at redemption to keep Jackson in this game.
Do we see Lugia V? We do.
All right. Lugia V, that's a start. There's a quick ball in hand. I see that Radiant Charizard. The timing on that is going to be so difficult as well. You're going to have to combine that with the boss's orders in the late game if that Flying Pikachu VMAX does hit the board. There's so much riding on this turn for Jackson. Even if you're able to keep up and stay in the game, Evan is so far ahead, I think, with the Lugia V already set up with the attachment, the Flying Pikachu V on the bench. The potential to pop that summoning star and just blow this game wide open is ever present.
And Jackson did discard that Radiant Charizard with the Quick Ball, though, so no option for that later on in the game, and is just going to have to go full Lugia here. You need both of those down, especially knowing that, at least we know that Evan saved that Serena.
So going for the double Lugia V to guarantee you get, or at least increase the odds you can get that evolution into the Lugia V-Star and complete your setup. This is the most important part of the mirror match, is both players trying to get their setups down, and once that happens, then the next layer of the matchup takes over. It becomes this battle of attrition, this battle of saving your resources. Jackson, after we get a nice look through the discard pile, 2 Lumineon V also discarded much earlier.
Evan has the option of, Professor Burnett or I think the Serena to bring up, but it really was the difference between 1 and 2 Archeops in play for this game. The Burnett able to search your deck, discard 2 cards. That's all it really does, but hey, when you need those Archeops in the discard, it does exactly what you want. And then having the V-Star in hand already. Beautiful.
I know that players really shy away from running this card, even though the synergy is there. It just feels a little bit odd for that to be your supporter for the turn, but Billy's sitting in a fantastic spot, so just gets the Professor Burnett, and now we're just running away with this game. Quick ball now to thin down just a bit more, and we just have to find, hopefully soon, the next attack. This Orangaru's days are numbered in the active spot. There's the evolution of Lugia V-Star, activates that Summoning Star ability, and Archeops comes back down to the bench. Now we've got Primal Turbo online to accelerate energy from the deck directly onto any Pokemon.
Who needs to go first in the mirror match when your opponent just passes?
Precisely. Players, kind of got caught up, I think, a little bit on how important it was to go first or second. And once players kind of adapt to playing both sides of the matchup, we get into this next layer. But regardless of who went first or second, we've got a fully powered up Lugia V-Star here. Got the V-Guard energy, triple powerful colorless. It's just going to be one-shotting anything that dares tread into this active spot. Evan, once the shuffle is done, is going to be reaching out to take the first prize card of this game.
Yeah, forcing a lot of resources out of Jackson if he wants to take the knockout on that Lugia V-Star. And if you do, one of those lightning Pokemon on the bench is going to come up and get that return KO.
So here's Lugia V. Jackson doesn't have any Archeops in the discard pile yet, right?
There's at least 1, but...
it does have 2. Okay.
When you Professor's Research discard your entire hand turn 2, there's bound to be in there because you couldn't play anything else.
Beautiful. So there's the Archeops. So we're still going to respond back to this KO in kind. Typically, in a position like this, the Lugia V-Star player has to rely on Yveltal to get that... that amazing destruction, just get the immediate knockout to keep up, force your opponent to get rid of so many important energies as well. But Jackson missing out on that opportunity here. Has the Yveltal in this list, but I don't see it in the hand. Going to try to look for it here, perhaps.
Yeah, really eyeing down the big knockout on the Lugia V-Star that takes 3 powerful and the Choice Belt now, since that V-Guard is on Evan's side of the board. But we do see a boss's orders in hand for Jackson. So signaling, at least with the capture energy here, I think we might see the boss's orders bring up that Flying Pikachu V, maybe an Archeops even, and try to just work your way around this Lugia.
There's the boss's orders. We'll see what the decision is. Indeed, the Flying Pikachu V. Either mitigate the attackers or slow down your opponent's acceleration into future attackers. And Jackson opts for the play of heading off that future threat. So I do like this. It is unfortunate after heading off the Pikachu V, the Radiant Charizard was already discarded.
And Dunsparce still in the prizes, and this Raikou is going to wreak havoc Archeops is going to be able to charge that up so quickly. It gets around V-Guard because it's not a Pokemon V, and as long as there's a Choice Belt, we'll be able to take the knockout. And Evan is starting off this game wonderfully.
Beautiful. Double Primal Turbo, gets 3 Aurora Energies onto the Raikou, now paying for the amazing shot, 120 damage to the active and onto the bench, hitting for weakness. Beautiful, beautiful setup here. Even if you aren't getting the knockout on the Lugia V-Star this turn, just chipping away at it. It's just 2 prizes that you can very easily claim later on.
Well, now Evan has his own decision. Yeah, Serena, the Lugia V on the bench. This will allow you to take a knockout with an amazing shot and get that 120 on that Lugia V-Star, so it's easier to take down with your other Lugia. And Evan now down to 3 prize cards, and the board is looking massive.
And this is another chance for Jackson to try to break through this momentum. Billy got the attack with the Lugia V-Star, wasn't really adequately responded to, and now Raikou is pressuring in this active spot. If Jackson can't get rid of the single prize Pokemon, it gets another rep of amazing shot. It's going to be curtains in this first game. And even if you do get rid of this threat, you're only taking 1 prize just to even things out. Hopefully you'll get the Dunsparce.
Yeah, 1 prize here is not where you want to be, especially since you were the person to Summoning Star second. Your goal is really just to kind of boss's orders or Serena up those 2 prize Pokemon and try to keep up with that prize race.
And the intricacy of not only that mirror match, but the actual state of the board, what targets there are in play, mapping out your prizes, especially from a back foot position like this, becomes much harder to accomplish because, you know, this isn't Mew VMAX where you're able to draw so many cards and search through a lot of your deck the way we saw with, especially with like Inteleon. This list wants to get set up and just maintain its lead in a more natural way. And with Jackson down on Lumineon, one of the rare search cards this deck really does have to find those key pieces when they're most needed, it is going to be a tall order. Evolution Incense being found. Trying to find some extra attackers, just trying to thin the deck down just a smidgen. Taking count of the special energies as well while searching through. Finds that Archeops as well.
Not very many left. I believe, what, 2 Aurora and that Heat Fire?
Yeah, and I think there was a twin, double turbo rather, in this list. So it's also about, can I distribute these special energies correctly? Usually a lot of times when the match comes down to a grind, the Lumineon does a lot of work by recycling those special energies back into the deck, but Jackson also unable to use that key tech for the mirror match. The Evital is found, however, but you don't want to use the Amazing Destruction on the single prize Pokemon.
Well, here we go. Primal Turbo is going to charge up that active Archeops, so we'll be able to take the knockout on the Raikou, and then just some energy going down on the Evital, because you're not going to have 2, most likely going into next turn.
Yeah, beautiful, just to get that Speedwing down, plus the powerful energy. It lines up regardless. There we go. So Crisis averted at the very least. 1 lightning attacker down, but another one promoted into the active. Back over to Billy. He's got the Flying Pikachu V. Evolution Incense going to be looking at that VMAX finally. There it is.
It's going to be a little awkward to play down, though, because while it is a pretty great attacker, stops those basic Pokemon from attacking, it does not prevent effects. That Evital, with its Amazing Destruction, just straight up KOs the active Pokemon. So Evan's going to need to find that big Parasol to stop that Amazing Destruction from going on if you choose to attack with the Flying Pikachu V, but it does have Free Retreat, so it is the best pivot you have right now, and that's one thing these Lugia decks really lack, is a good pivot.
If you have that to figure out your turn, it gives you a lot of flexibility for certain. And with both players now on 3 prizes remaining, Campbell most likely will not put the VMAX in play. It is a huge liability, and it looks like the map is all ready to go. With the Lugia V-Star fully powered up, we've got the single prize in the active, and then we've got a damaged Lugia V-Star for the remaining 2 prizes here. So there is that pivot indeed. Lugia V-Star going to be coming back up into the active here pretty soon.
Again, Evan's just trying to go through the different possibilities that Jackson has left. You know that there's going to be at least that Heat Fire or Aurora energy to help charge up that Evital. That's a KO on anything. So you have to be worried about that and make sure you actually have the game for next turn.
And after a capture energy, Billy's thinking about some other option here. Just going to fail it. Just an opportunity to look through the deck once more, fully evaluate the options here. Even though he's very much ahead, it's a matter of not fumbling it here as you try to close out this first game. Every once in a while, we see these Lugia decks seem to be in a fantastic position, and after their opponent responds with 1 or 2 key knockouts, they seem to just evaporate all of their momentum. They run out of attackers, similar to, Palkia back in the day, where suddenly you just run out of the ability to consistently attack over and over. But back over to Jackson. Evital in the active spot, Evolution Incense. Still searching through the deck, can thin it one more card, has the Archeops, also going to take account of the special energy here with that one remaining Primal Turbo.
It'll be interesting to see if Jackson has some of the hand disruption available to him in hand. Plays 2 copies of Marnie and 1 Roxanne, which isn't as popular in the Lugia list that we've seen throughout this format, but is a very powerful supporter if it sticks.
Ooh, shows the mana fee. Just keep taking stock of all the energy on the Lugia V-Star. Has the mana fee down. There's the Primal Turbo. We have the attachments now for the amazing destruction to take 2 prizes. Jackson's going to go down to 1 prize remaining. Evan just needs to, get the Flying Pikachu V back into the active and hopefully gets a boss here off the Marnie.
Yeah, that was an important Marnie because Evan had the Luminion V and the Flying Pikachu VMAX in hand, all needed to take the knockout for game. So it's going to be interesting to see what these 5 cards are. I think
I saw Judge.
Yeah, there is 1 Judge in the list. Evan plays a suite of different supporters.
It might have been a full art Bird Keeper.
It's definitely the full art Judge.
All right, so he's got it there. Yeah, no Bird Keepers in this list.
No way to get the Luminion either. So it's going to be close, especially with how the game started. Jackson has the knockout here with Amazing Destruction.
Yeah, the prophecy coming true. You have no more attackers left potentially at this final draw. Ultra Ball!
That's it! Evolution Incense finds the Flying Pikachu VMAX. Ultra Ball will be able to find that Luminion V. You have the Primal Turbo to power up the Max Balloon, and with that, you can boss's orders up that Lugia V-Star, and we're going to a game 2.
Beautifully played. Even after the Marnie, the Ultra Ball gets the Luminion. There's the boss and the extension. Evan going to take that first game. Came really down to the wire. I'm super impressed with how that played out. Jackson seemed to be so far behind in the initial stages and was just half a step from stabilizing and fully taking that game. And you can see how these mirror matches can just flop side to side. One player is at the advantage, the other player is at the advantage, and Jackson was making certain to count those special energies to absolutely make sure that the attacks were there. And that's what you have to do with this list, is plan so many turns ahead of time.
Yeah, and that's the rough part about going first, not having a Lugia V down. Then that forces you to play 2 on the following turn, and we saw that be the downfall for Jackson there in that game 1. Evan just capitalizing on having multiple V Pokemon in play. Yeah, you're going to attack with a lot of single prizers, but it's still going to be there at the end of the day. It's not a Luminion that can go back in the deck.
Exactly, and Jackson did all of that without the Luminion, so there was a lot of utility, a lot of search unavailable, still able to bring that game so close. And I think that also helps you keep your mental up as you get into later rounds. You're playing on stream, and you go, that was a close game 1, but I was like in a really bad spot, still able to make that look like a real game. So you have to know that your skill is there, your deck build is there, and it's just a matter of executing. So if Jackson gets a couple more situations like that, I could certainly see him with a quick back-to-back, a reverse sweep, as they say.
Yeah, well, if you think, I still almost had that game, and my start was terrible. What if I start better?
Exactly. And with the prize cards coming out, looks like Billy is all established there on the left side. The Professor Burnett in the prize is a little bit unfortunate. That means he's going to have to set the Archeops up the old-fashioned way with an Ultra Ball. Ooh, a lot of Aurora energy, though. It's going to make things tricky.
The Lugia V-Star as well. Jackson is on the list that only plays 2 of those. So we'll have to see if it comes back to bite him or not, but we'll start things off here in this game too.
Oh, delicious. Stoutland V in the active spot, and then Pumpkaboo stranded right across from it. Let's get the manual attachments going, Jeremy. Let's just do it the old way. Take down this Pumpkaboo with the double dip fangs.
Well, if that Pumpkaboo stays in the active spot, I guarantee that's what Jackson is eyeing down for the following turn. Now,
and again, it's the lack of switch cards.
Yeah. Discards the boss's orders and the Radiant Charizard off this Ultra Ball. Those are not the Archeops that you hope to discard this turn 1.
Yeah, it's rough, but Jackson already, after seeing the Flying Pikachu, knows that the Radiant Charizard isn't going to be a reliable finisher as this game goes later. Immediately gets rid of it, wants to start looking for other attackers and other setups. Now going to take a deeper look into the list, see where those prize cards are lying. Lugia V is eyeballed, of course.
Oh, they're definitely lying to him, for sure. Having just 2 Aurora Energy, and then you have that Heat Fire, that means you get 1 attack with any of your attackers. That's got to be that Yveltal. And after that, it's slim pickings for sure.
Yeah, so we need Lugia V-Star to get down super early and do a lot more work than it's typically known to do. Lugia V-Star takes maybe a single prize knockout with going full ham with the powerful energies. You can get your opponent's counter Lugia V-Star, and that's really all you can rely on it for in this matchup, especially with those lightning attackers coming through. Jackson is already being forced to rely on a strategy that's a little shaky, perhaps. Quick Ball discards the Lost Vacuum, and Billy is also looking for a Lugia V-Star V of his own.
Yeah, well, and V-Star for next turn.
Very true.
You're always looking for that card.
But after seeing the Burnett missing, might need to pivot a little bit here. Looking at the resources in the hand, seeing where all those Archeops lies, very important as well.
Yeah, gonna have to figure out a good play for this turn. I think there was a ton of boss's orders in Evan's hand. I think there was a Marnie as well. So we might just see Lugia maybe attach an energy Marnie, but oh no, yeah, Aurora Energy is the only one in there. Lumineon to go along with it, so really just depends what Evan wants to do this turn.
After seeing Jackson put up such a good fight in that first game, maybe Evan is going to opt for a more aggressive position. We saw when he was at that early advantage in game 1, was still playing very respectfully, was just focusing on his own game plan of just completing the Archeop setup. And so who knows if he's going to try to just close this out in a quick 2-0 by taking something that's a little bit more audacious.
Oof, well, none of those cards are Archeops to get in the discard, but there is a Quick Ball to find a second Lugia V if Evan wants to, but you don't want to discard any of those cards in hand.
Passes, probably just hoping that Jackson may be forced to play that Judge down or another Marnie, and then Evan can try again. But back over to Jackson with the draw, has the Capture Energy attachment to the Stoutland V.
Now, one thing both of these players are missing is those Archeops in the discard. Jackson had a turn 1 where just not able to find it. Evolution Incense was nowhere to be found. The Ultra Ball had to get the Lugia V, and with this Capture Energy, can find another Lugia V, the Oranguru.
Hopefully, but picks up the Manaphy for that bench protection with Wave Veil. Already thinking about the Raikou. And I guess this is probably as best as you can do with no Archeops for both players. This changes the matchup drastically. This is just going to be a matter of manually attaching and just try to get whatever momentum you can squeeze out of a Stoutland V. There's Professor's Research, discarding a special energy. Draws 7 more cards. We get a Lost Vacuum. I think I saw another Lugia V there, Lumineon.
All right, the Ultra Ball is in the hand, and I think there's an Archeops. Oh no, that's the Oranguru. I saw colorless Pokemon that's not a V, and I took a guess, but so with
one more card with the Primate Wisdom can be very helpful. That can be the make or break between a good turn and a bad turn.
Yeah, but if you play that Oranguru down on the bench, you only got 1 bench space for an Archeops.
Yeah, committing to the Manaphy and the Dunsparce, I think, just signals that Jackson wants to fully rely on the Lugia Vs. to do the heavy lifting here. Ultra Ball discards Lugia V and the Oranguru, keeping that bench space open for the Archeops. Jackson still thinking about completing the setup, still trying to live that dream.
I think he's going to go with just the one Archeops here. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, there's just one in the discard.
Single Archeops is a line that Lugia V-Star players go for from time to time when, things get really desperate.
Well, here we go. We're desperate. Even getting back the Oranguru discarded off the Ultra Ball.
Okay,
you can grab
that's a first for me.
Colorless, non-rule box Pokemon. You can even grab Dunsparce if you want.
Okay.
Usually you don't.
So get the Oranguru back onto the bench. And there's the attachment to the Stoutland V. It's been a long time coming, but that Double Dip Fangs is indeed going to find a victim here. Pumpkaboo going to give up 2 prizes now and put Jackson ahead. The issue with, of course, only having one Archeops means that you have to maintain your lead or you will not be able to catch up to your opponent. So he's going all in now with a pretty great start, I might add. Getting 2 prizes off of the Pumpkaboo.
Yeah, I would classify it as a good. The Pumpkaboo double prize knockout, great. You kind of saw that from the beginning. If you start that Pumpkaboo, I'm going to take the knockout since I started the Stoutland. You're not really going to pivot around it. The one Archeops could be huge as the game goes later on. That means you can't charge up Yveltal in one turn. And that's going to be huge.
And if the Stoutland V goes down, Jackson has to bring up the Lugia V-Star. Massive, massive energy cost for that Tempest Dive with only the Archeops to help out and a manual attachment for turn. Very high chance to whiff on getting that powered up in time. Lack of search for the powerful colorless energies means that you aren't going to be hitting those damage numbers you need to. So now it's all up to Billy here to truly capitalize on Jackson's gambit here to go for only one Archeops.
Well, at a certain point, you kind of have to take that one Archeops in play and just be like, this is what my deck gave me. I got to make the best of it. And Evan is trying to look for just the first one off this professor's research. A brand new hand of 7. Is it there? We see an evolution incense. So
okay, it's coming together. 7 cards to change your fate. After this evolution incense resolves, you just have to find one Archeops here and then get it into the discard pile. There is an Ultra Ball there. Discards one Archeops and 2. Evan Billy Campbell completing the setup. It's going to be 2 Archeops versus 1. Just needs to get this lead now, and he should be able to run away with this second game. And it just became a game of chicken, right? Both players were having a very awkward setup, and Jackson was the one who was kind of forced to pull the trigger on the Summoning Star first and get that Archeops down just to take advantage of the Stoutland V. It was too good of a situation presented right from the start of the game for Jackson to turn down. And after the Primal Turbo, we've got powerful colorless, V-Guard energy, and then whatever else is left in the deck. I see an Aurora there you want to save, capture energy, and just a little bit more.
Yeah, you don't need the full 3 powerful, but it does look like Evan is going to do that just because, why not? You can get the knockout on a V-Star later on.
And Lugia V-Star is really the best, the best benefactor of the powerful colorless energy. The rest of your attackers you have lined up are going to be hitting for weakness, so those numbers are already there for them, and I think this is a fine play.
And with the capture energy, getting that Flying Pikachu V just a little bit powered up for later on, and having a pretty glorious hand for the next couple of turns. And what a turnaround.
Yep, after taking 2 prizes, evening up the prize trade, Jackson is left with just Lugia V-Star as an attacker. Maybe we can just promote the Oranguru just to buy a turn, go for a cheap pivot, but you've got to keep up.
Yeah, you already have that choice belt on the Lugia V-Star. You're going to be able to get 2 powerful colorless energies on it with your Archeops Primal Turbo, but you won't be able to get the other damage modifier because you're going to need to attack with the double turbo energy. And if you do, that reduces one of your powerful colorless energies, meaning you would need 4. And that's just not happening. So I think we might be seeing a Boss's Orders play, maybe take out that Flying Pikachu V again, and just try to keep up with this prize race.
Yeah, taking 2 more prizes means Jackson's going to get into an Aurora energy, maybe opens up a line to rely on a different attacker. It's so risky to maybe get an Yveltal down and just try to manually attach to offset the Archeops. But then without that manual attachment for turn to the active, it's stuck between a rock and a hard place here, Jeremy. You can't keep up with the proper tempo you need to attack and attack and attack before you get strangled out of this game. As soon as Lugia V-Star goes down, Jackson will be left with no viable attackers. Archeop Speedwing maybe can deal some chip or clean up one prize, but from that point, it's just a Billy's, opportunity to close out this best of 3.
Yeah, anytime you're attacking with your lone Archeops and you're on the field, I'm pretty sure you're going to be losing that game.
What attack does Dunsparce have? Come on, we got to dig deep here.
Hey, it could use powerful colorless energies.
Whap down!
We are going to see that only Primal Turbo, and it's going to be rough to see if Jackson can put together a knockout this turn or even just in the future.
Yeah, just really unfortunate overall. This is 2 games in a row where Jackson's kind of had a very awkward start, but still making it work. Trying his very best to stay in the game. Here comes the Primal Turbo. V-Guard going on to the Lugia V-Star with the double turbo energy.
That means it will be able to attack with an energy from hand for the turn.
And there was one powerful colorless energy in the hand after Jackson sees that, it just offsets itself. We aren't getting the one-turn knockout. Might conserve that, just attach some other idea and save the powerful for when it might be needed a little bit more. But at this point, it feels like everything that Jackson is doing this turn is forced. There's not many options for being able to take a different idea or do a different turn. Professor's research being looked at here as well.
And it does.
But opts out. Yeah, it's because the Luminion V was going to hit the bench and grabs the boss's orders. This is the only other play that Jackson really has, is just to get some prizes off the Flying Pikachu V, as you talked about, Jeremy.
Yeah, and it's still a fine play, too. You need to keep up in tempo. If Evan ends up playing down a Luminion V, that is the game. Essentially, if you have another way to bring it to the active spot. And with the V-Guard energy on Jackson's Lugia V-Star, there's actually not a way for Evan to take a knockout on that in one hit. There is no choice belt in his list, opting for, the heavy Flying Pikachu VMAX line instead. And so we might see Evan trying to maneuver around a little bit, maybe take out that Luminion V on the bench as well, or the lone Archeops even.
It's so good here to seal up the game. If you take down the Archeops, you know that you don't have to worry about Evital taking down your Lugia V-Star, which is one of the only attackers that can really deal with this thing cleanly without jumping through a lot of hoops. Jackson did stash that choice belt on top of the deck, so still thinking towards that aggressive line, but again, Evan's just going to go in with the Evolution Incense. Finds the Lugia V-Star, just thinning down a little bit. Manaphy means that the Raikou isn't going to be a strong attacking option here.
Yeah, Manaphy and Dunsparce really putting in a lot of work against that Raikou. Really just not an option. You can maybe go for something like a Yveltal play. And I think with the Skyla here, kind of just looking for those options that you do have.
And yeah, Billy Campbell showing that with Professor Burnett, with Skyla, you are running more of your deck in a way where it's not just about pure Reklev style consistency. You're also running the tech cards that allow you to force your setup, right? Saying, okay, I've got the Archeops, but I need an Ultra Ball, so then Skyla's going to come through, or I've got all of my Lugias set up, but I need the Archeops in the discard pile. You've got the Professor Burnett. So approaching the common problem for Lugia V-Star in both ways, and now with Double Primal Turbo, we've got Evital being powered up, the Double Turbo and the Aurora Energy. Just a couple more attachments here, and now this is all tricked out and ready to go, Jeremy.
Yeah, it's ready to go and take a knock in Knoxville. That Lugia V-Star is not going to be on the board for much longer. Evan does have to get rid of 2 pretty important energy in this retreat. You have to get rid of 2 powerful colorless or powerful and the V-Guard. But getting 2 prizes, I think, is worth it.
Yeah, just close in on the end of the game. Jackson already has that Luminion V as well. That's going to need to be shuffled back into the deck with Aqua Return. Otherwise, it's another 2-prize liability the way it is in a lot of other decks. But that's also a lot of energy that's going to the discard pile as well. Jackson's going to take another look into the list and see if there's even enough energy to keep up at this point. One Aurora attached from the hand manually, discards the Archeops.
There's, I believe, 2 double turbo in the discard, so he's going to have to commit all of the energy to this Luminion here, leaving no next attacker, essentially. The Radiant Charizard is already in the discard from turn 1.
Oh, is it just 2 Aurora? And I think I saw a powerful colorless energy in there.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yes,
I know there's not very many left.
Very low on resources.
Well, playing down the other Luminion, kind of forced to do it, grab that Roxanne, but that does leave game on board if Evan is able to find a Boss's Orders or Serena.
Yep, just going to get the Choice Belt attached because that's going to shuffle right back into the deck as well with Aqua Return. And here comes Roxanne. This is a situation that players, love to be in and also hate to be in, where, okay, I'm just going to disrupt my opponent's hand and hope that it works. But oftentimes, this, as the saying goes, Roxanne's not real.
Yeah, Roxanne is a lie, and I will say that time and time again.
The good players top deck like the lords of the TCG. You cannot keep them down. 3 cards, that's all I need, baby. So we'll see exactly if Evan Billy Campbell is going to prove us correct, Jeremy. Meanwhile, Jackson gets a fresh hand. Looking here, there's still some special energy in the hand. Fortunately, going to give us a little bit more of a manual attachment idea for next turn, and Dunsparce is going to be the sacrifice going into the active after this shuffle.
Double Lugia V off the Roxanne. Not what you're hoping for. We need a Quick Ball or Ultra Ball off the top of the deck. Quick Ball off the top.
Was there ever any doubt?
This will find the Luminion. Luminous Sign will find the Boss's Orders yet again, and closing out the game in the same fashion that Evan did game 1. And a quick 2-0, but Jackson able to keep those games pretty close towards the end there.
Yeah, this was a showcase of how the Lugia V-Star players have to think.